Alright, so we're gonna we're gonna be talking about God's will for us while I build this. And just understanding what God's will is for us and having us trying to reject it. Because, in all honesty, I think there's been a lot of parts in my life where I wanted specific things to happen my way or this and that, specific partners. And I think over time I've understood that maybe it's been my own path, and I just saw a video talking about it because it's not what God wants for me. And living through the world, you follow your own path. And the girl I was watching, she was talking about how it's way different living as a person that's living with the world and living for God's purpose. And I think I sometimes ponder about that he has a will for us, but we also have, at the end of the day, we have free will. And we do what we want because he allowed us to have free will. And with that free will comes a lot of bad things we can do. We can decide to further ourselves from God, or we can decide to get as close as we can to God. And over time, you get a sense of what you are, who you are, but there's a sense of self that is not completely. There's a sense of yourself that is not completely flourished or built because that is within God. And I think as I grew up, as I knew what I liked hobby-wise, music-wise, the people I liked hanging out with, you don't get to the place that you need to through your life without God. Like, you can get to a certain point where, this is where I think I should go, or this is my path. But at the end of the day, only God knows your true path. And a lot of us fight our paths because that's not what we want. That's not what we desire for ourselves. But a lot of the time, it's what God knows is best for us. And I myself have a lot of conflicting interests with that because I don't know what is in his will and what isn't. What is my wants and what is my will in the world, What is my path in this world? What are my lessons? And sometimes I ponder, like, what if I messed up down the path and he had a path for me? Or, yeah. But I've heard a lot that people of all kinds, of all natures, have their path sorted out before we're born. God knows what type of people we're going to be. He knows everything that we're going to be in life before we even know it, before we even grow up. He knows everything. And, for me, this whole time, I've been trying to go down that path of listening to what I feel like God wants for my life, or what is beneficial, what he has for me in my life down the line. And it's difficult not to think, hey, I want this, hey, I want that or this or whatever the case may be, or I prefer this. And day by day it gets somewhat easier, but not 100%, that you understand. I don't even know that you understand what God's purpose is for you. It's difficult trying to go down that path that God wants you to go down, or he knows is your path, when you want things that are on the contrary. And I've had difficult times trying to understand, maybe this is not what God has in store for me, whether it's where I live, whether it's where I stay, or how I feel about certain situations, where I'm at in life. And I genuinely am making this video because I'm caught up in my head a lot of the time over little things that don't matter, little things that God has in control. And I think I've heard someone say this, that you don't truly trust God if you worry about something after. Like, if you're worried about something that you already have prayed about, then you don't have faith in God. And I think in some instances, I can see why that person said that. And I can agree with them that praying is having faith in God. Praying is saying, hey, God, I'm worried about this, but I know you will calm my soul. And wait, okay, I'm doing it right. And I think a lot of us do pray and still worry. I pray and I still worry. And it's kind of not hypocritical, but if you're going to pray to God, it should have the sense of faith. You should have a sense of faith and a sense of, I put the wrong ones. You should have a sense of faith in God doing what is favorable for you, what is His will for you. Oh my goodness. They don't have, this one doesn't have the Lego remover thingy. Okay. But yeah, learning to pray with faith instead of praying and having stress over a long period of time is not what God wants. God wants us to be rooted in, having faith in Him. Because I think the most important things that I've felt that should be on the brain of a lot of people is love, having fear, not fearing God as in like scared, like fear out of wanting to be close to God, Love, fear, faith, and I forgot the other one, but those are the most important ones, I'd say. And day by day, I myself struggle with that. I myself struggle with praying and not having complete faith. Like, I myself struggle with that. And I'm like, bro, you just prayed, and that's like saying to God, like, I don't believe in you. That's like letting the stress or the overthinking consume you and letting the enemy win over you with your thoughts, And a lot of the time that happens when there's prayer and there's not a lot of studying of the Bible. And I myself have been getting closer to the path that I want to be down. And each day it gets easier, but it gets harder because there's things in life that you know you have to give up as someone that wants to follow God, and it's not difficult to by any means. It's pretty easy, but there's a way of life that I've lived for so long that um, you can excuse a lot of actions you're doing by saying, "Oh, I'll learn about God this time," or "I'll learn about God later," this and this. And I've been tired of that. I've been tired of pushing myself away from God because I don't have time. And to be fair, a lot of us always have time. We're on TikTok, we're on social media, we're just doing dumb stuff. Instead, like, pray to God, sit down with God, talk to God. And I think I've tried not to worry about how I do speak to God, because a lot of people have their own way, and I speak to Him in a bro type of manner. A lot of people wouldn't understand that, I think, because people might think that I'm not being respectful. It's just that's the way I learned to talk to Him, as like a brother, as a father, as like a friend. And I think as long as you have good intent in your prayer, there's nothing you should be worried about or overthinking about, you know? And